From dating to relationships, from sex to love, from Christianity to politics, from darkness to light, you have now entered into the real zone. Welcome to Conversations with Trent, where no topic of conversation is safe from discussion. Now, here he is, Mr. Epic himself, Trent Williams.
What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another podcast. We've been trying to have this conversation for a couple of weeks. I actually had a couple of surprise visits. I've kind of been busy. Everyone's been busy. But we're going to have this conversation tonight. Who you are is not who you were. So quick question. We'll bring you back up to speed on it. Actually, I established this conversation over 12 years ago on this platform. This actually particular platform. I've created several of them. It had always and will be about personal growth. I created this platform for healing purposes. After a failed marriage and after untimely passing my father, I set off on a journey to find myself and also to bury Romello in the process. Again, to bury Romello in the process. So that's where this topic comes from. And actually, it's so funny that we didn't have this conversation because it wasn't supposed to happen until after the dinner I had. And I'll explain later. Let's bring the ladies in. Ladies.
Good evening.
What's going on?
Not much. It's hump day.
Hump day. What's going on, D?
We're just trying to get through the last 3 days of school.
Ooh.
That's right.
Spoken like a true educator.
You guys enjoying the heat here, man?
Am I enjoying the heat? No, I stay inside in the air conditioning.
I'm a northern girl. You know better.
Good stuff. So let's get to the topic. Let's get to it. We got a lot to unpack here. So who you are is not who you were. It's so funny that we could not have this conversation for unforeseen reasons. Plus, Kennedy popped up and spent the week with me and what have you. It was a bit emotional, but it was a good emotional because I hadn't seen my baby for 3 years. And the reason for 3 years, right before my mother transitioned, she flew in to spend time, and we spent time with her. And that was the last time I saw her because 6 months after that, this happened to me. And right in the middle of COVID, right in the beginning of COVID, rather. So it was kind of emotional. It was good. And then for the first time in over 12 years, I was able to sit down and have dinner with my ex-wife and my child. Something that I couldn't personally do myself. I refused and declined a ton of years to even sit down to dinner. And that's when I said, well, you know what? This journey has been a good one because I finally sat down to dinner and had a civil conversation with my daughter and my ex-wife. So that's personal growth in itself. Again, i.e., who you are is not who you were. So Morgan actually experienced a totally different person. So let's dig in. What you guys think about this topic?
Oh, you go ahead.
I love the topic of journeys and where people are versus where they were. Now, the only issue I have with it is a lot of people will say, well, I'm a different person, but their actions don't match their words.
Exactly.
So if your actions match your words, then I'm like, okay, then yeah, you are a different person. But if you're just still doing the same old stuff, but talking about being changed, then yeah.
Exactly. Still work to be done.
Yeah.
But you have to allow a person to actually grow. You have to give them some grace. You have to allow the person to grow. So I brought along a couple of pointers. I jotted down, and we'll go from there, and we'll go into the topic. Actually, I was writing throughout this process after Kennedy went back. So we had a great time. She and I had a great time. I started writing, thinking about this topic. And one of the quotes I wrote, allow me the grace to be who I've become. we've all done some shit. And if we're sitting on a platform and say, oh, no, not me, I've done enough for all of y'all. So you have to allow people grace to get past whatever they have to get past.
Mhm.
You have to at least open up and say, hey, you know what, I'll give you some grace. So think about it, like with me, right? I was declining these dinners from this woman, not even knowing that what she want to talk about. I was declining. Nah, I'm busy. No, I'm not going. But she forced me into dinner by surprising me with my daughter on my birthday. And it was very pleasant. So I was like, you know what? Let me give this woman some grace. And it was a very pleasant meeting. Very pleasant. And sometimes you have to swallow your pride and swallow everything that you have for your kid. That's who it was for. The restaurant I chose was for Kennedy. All I had was some baked flounder. Because I couldn't eat anything on the menu because she loved crabs. So you have to swallow your pride.
Mhm.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, thoughts?
No,
Well, I think. Go ahead.
No, I was saying I completely and totally agree. I think too many times people hold that against us, and people who may have maybe known you in a youthful stage before there was growth and maturity can sometimes aren't able to see and experience the person that you've grown to become, not just through your words but through your actions as well.
There you go.
And I think probably the worst culprits, at least in my experience, has always been family. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't matter how much you grow, your family doesn't allow you to grow. They're always where you were, who you were years ago. No matter what.
Exactly. So I jotted down a couple of pointers on getting past someone's past. Just a couple of them, then we'll throughout the show, just like we normally do. And welcome back, Shannon. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
So good stuff, man. So I'm gonna jot these down. Getting past someone's past. Number one, accept and validate your feelings. So if you're constantly if I'm bringing up things, well, Shannon, you know what? I didn't like this and that about you in the past, and this and that. I got to validate that first. I got to validate those feelings. Like what's really going on with me? I keep pointing the finger at you, talking about what you've done in the past. Number two, put yourself in their place. So that's what I did on my birthday. I placed myself in Morgan's foot and her shoes, pretty much in her shoes. So, hey, she got whole bunch of burden to carry. But me throwing extra weight on top of that wasn't going to make her feel any better. So I turned it around. So, okay, for the better good of my daughter, I gave her grace. I placed her shoes on my feet. So good stuff, good stuff. And number three, and then we'll stop there and then we'll talk about that. Resist the urge to dig. So everyone knows, it's well documented and published that I have a serious womanizing past. And whomever I'm with, if they're constantly digging, they're only hurting themselves. It's well documented though. Who I was is well documented. So you're only hurting yourself. So yeah, you have to resist the urge of doing stuff like that. D?
Yeah, it's all about journey. So everybody is on a different journey. So you can't tell somebody what their journey to healing is. You can only accept what your journey is and then accept them as they are on their journey. Because you can't force anybody to change. Change is an individual thing that happens when they're ready.
Exactly.
Yeah, the easiest way to stop change.
I'm a prime example. It took me a ton of years to have some growth and some change. I mean, can you imagine not being able to sit down with your ex and have dinner for the better good of your daughter? That was completely on me because I refused every single time. That's arrogance. That's selfishness. Not even thinking about my daughter. Oh, but I love my daughter. The world of them. But I wasn't acting like it with my actions. I wouldn't swallow my pride. So I totally get it. I see a couple people here in the comment section. Let's get to those folks real quick. Uh-oh. Look at these folks.
Let's see. I'm sorry, who we got? Oh, Mark is there. Hi, Mark. Wendy, welcome. General
What up,
Giant.
Sly?
Hey, Al. Martine, welcome back, as well as Joker Dog, the other Al in the group. So let's see. Martine says she certainly knows that she's different than what she was some years ago. She'll say that she's been cool and decent, just inexperienced, not being as vocal and being afraid to say no. Back in the day, she was on the shy side and more passive. Now folks say that I'm too serious and mean. And I don't know. I think it's something about as we mature, Martine. I think because I used to be extremely more passive and not as outgoing and probably shy to a certain extent. And I think you kind of come into your own after a certain age and you just realize what really matters and what doesn't. And I think that's how it was for me. Like the things that really don't matter, I just don't care about. And
Exactly.
I don't mind. I'm at a point now where people who don't mean me any good or who don't want to bring the right energy into my space, I have no problem cutting them off and moving on and loving them look with the love of the Lord from a distance. Um, and it's not about me. For me, I say it's not about being mean. It's about I have to preserve self. And for however many days or year or not days, but however many years or decades that I have left, I want to truly enjoy them. I feel like you give a certain amount of your life, especially if you have kids, you give a certain amount of your life to your children. And now for me, it's about I get my time back. So
Exactly.
that's how I look at it. I don't think it's about being mean. I think it's probably becoming more self-aware and knowing yourself better and knowing who you are. I think I almost want to say, I feel kind of hoodwinked and bamboozled here, Lord, because it's like you have to wait till we get to your 40s, almost 50 or whatever, before you really start to be like, oh, I see, I understand now. Okay. Like we could have done that when we were in our 20s, like, and saved us some time and heartache.
Yeah, but where would the lesson be? You know what I'm saying?
That is true.
And where would the lesson be? But what I find that unhealed people would love nothing more than to keep you in that box, the box that you've already unwrapped. You've already unwrapped that.
Well, that just goes back to misery loves company.
Exactly.
Martine says usually when you complain about what others are doing, it's because you need to look in the mirror. I agree with that. And she says, I'm not into digging. I know you right here, right now. So I'd like to grow from where we are. And yes, there will be conversations about where we've been and come from. Yeah. And she said we've got to protect our hearts and energy and keeping herself safe and at peace. And Mark says, Lord, here we go. That sounds like one shining moment, a presentation of both the past and the present. We should all give grace and give the benefit of doubt, seeing the temperature is and if that person has evolved. Wow, Mark, you have evolved tonight. Thank you very much for that.
That's funny. That's funny.
But we also need to normalize removing toxic people from our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yes.
Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that.
Oh, that's going to be a post. Thank you. I'll give you credit for it.
Totally agree with that.
Removing toxic people out of your life. Yes. I like that.
And toxic people include family.
Let's get back to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just said toxic people includes family.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I have learned that over the past within the past 6 to 8 months.
Right.
I have. Just because you blood don't mean that you right, and I gotta always have you around to bring certain energy into my
Some kinfolk ain't your kinfolk.
Yeah.
So what was your number 2 point? I think I missed that. I saw the accept and validate. What was number 2?
Number 2, put yourself in their place.
Okay.
Number 3, Resist the urge to dig. And number 4, talk to your partner. And number 5, accept what they tell you. If you decide to stay, if you decide whatever the situation is, it doesn't have to be just a romantic relationship. That's in friendships and everything.
Yeah.
Number 6, ask yourself what you are really concerned about. Again, ask yourself what you are really concerned about. Are you concerned about Trent hurting you? Are you concerned about I might be the next roadkill for him or what have you? You have to ask yourself, what are you really concerned about? And once you find that out, you can actually get to the problem, the root of the problem. Number 8, my favorite. Reframe the situation. Reframe the situation. What do you mean by that, Trent?
Reframe, okay.
Look at me with a different pair of eyes. Look at me with a different pair of eyes. That's how you reframe the situation. Look at me with a different pair of eyes. That goes back to the grace. Give me some grace.
But that'll only work if they're healed.
Hey, say that again now.
That'll only work if somebody's healed. If somebody's not healed, they're not going to be able to look at you with different set of eyes because they're not going to be. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's what decision making. You have to make a decision. You have to make a decision and a choice. In this life, it's 2 C's. This is a DC, a decision and choice. We got some more down there, Shannon. Let's see.
Yes. So Martine says she says, I feel like I'm rediscovering lots of things about life in my 50s. Yep.
Is it wonderful though? But that's the wonderful thing though, man. Go ahead, Shannon.
She said, just because you've known a person for a long time doesn't mean you have to keep them in your life. And yep, family can get cut off too. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
She says, something I don't when folks low key get a kick out of triggering. Oh, you don't like it when folks low key get a kick out of triggering you. Yeah, and there are some people who do that purposely. I think it's that whole thing where when you have other folks who just are not, who are still stuck in their own toxicity, and right. To a certain degree, it's kind of like they hate on you for growing and becoming somebody who had the courage to get out of your own toxicity and work on bettering yourselves. And it's kind of that thing where they want to still continue to pull you back down and bring you back to where they are.
And they do that by bringing up your past and everything. So yeah, that's a great point. Great point. Great point. Great point. Great point. So D, what do you think? What do you think about if you're in a situation, right? How do you, for one, if you're into that person, whoever the person is, whether it be romantic or friendship or whatever, it's a great friendship, great romantic relationship. But they keep doing those things. What would be your suggestion as a coach? What would be your suggestion?
You already know what I would do is I would coach them. We would have a conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because I'm trained. That's what I'm trained to do. That's my thing.
Let's just about the average viewer. What would you tell the average viewer? How would they walk away from this or walk through this or get past that point?
The average person would have to have like a come to Jesus moment conversation with them. Like basically, this is who I am now. If you can't see me who I am, where I am, then we need to have a conversation so how you can see what the differences are. And if not, we need to take a break and come back and revisit our friendship at a later date. Right?
A lot of people can't handle that.
People don't want to have hard conversations.
That's very true. That is very true. It's amazing how many grown folks don't want to have hard conversations.
Listen, if more people had hard conversations, there'd be fewer divorces.
Right.
So Joker Dog said sometimes the toxic person is ourselves. We just don't know or accept it. Oh my God.
That's you hit the nail on the head right there.
Great point.
That is very true. Yeah.
Good stuff.
But so there's either ignorance is bliss to a certain extent, or either you're just stubborn and don't want to. You recognize you need to change, or you recognize there's some toxic things about you or in your life, and you just choose not to deal with them or acknowledge them.
Well, it's easier being in our comfort zone.
Right.
So, and depending on how you grow up,
Explain. I know what you mean, but explain it.
Their journey of healing is hard. It is not easy by any means, and you have to do a lot of really hard self-reflection where you are an asshole at times. Like, some of your best days are not when you're doing self-reflection, because you have to take a deep look at you and what we have done in the past and what we could have done.
That's right. That's right.
And so moving on from that, and there's a lot of other things that involve where trauma will come up where you'll need a therapist. And people don't want to talk to therapists. And I tell people, if you don't want to talk to a therapist and you need a therapist, you're your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
You're constantly cutting yourself. Every single morning you don't get help.
Yeah. So and therapy, I swear therapy is the best thing that you can ever do. Because you get somebody who's looking at your baggage, and they're looking at it with an unbiased view, so they can help you work through things.
What I found when I went into therapy during my separation and divorce, I found the world a totally different place once I got past the hump of understanding. Once I understood my why, I saw the people in the world totally different. Totally different. And that was only through Dr. Stan and walking me through certain things and what have you and whatnot. So totally different. And that's where a lot of the grace came from. And my stubbornness was still keeping me stuck. That pride was still keeping me stuck. That arrogance was still housing me in a prison, my own self-made prison.
Listen, the thing that holds us back the most is ego.
Exactly.
And if anybody tells you that they live without ego, they are full of ego.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because we all have it. I don't care how enlightened, because that's a new key word people use. They're so enlightened they live without ego. I'm like, no, you are not Zenner than Buddha. Like,
exactly. It's not like
down.
I do yoga every single week, and I still have to self-check myself. Sometimes when I'm having a conversation with my friends, sometimes when I have a conversation with Shannon, sometimes I have a conversation with Teresa, whoever, I still have to self-check myself after. I'm like, wow, wait a minute. Self-check myself in the middle of the night when I'm meditating or in the first thing in the morning. I was like, you know what? I was wrong. Sometimes I still have to do that.
We all do it. I do it. You do it. Everybody does it. I have yet to meet a perfect human being.
Exactly. Martina's actually coming toward you.
Yeah, she said, Coach G, do people who are cool and mostly trauma-free need therapy for any reason?
Cool and mostly drama-free? You know what? I think everybody should invest in therapy because we're overworked, right? A lot of people don't have a life-work balance. There's so many little things that add up during the day that it's good for everybody to get therapy. If for one reason and one reason only is that they can learn coping mechanisms.
Exactly.
Like, I have PTSD, so I'm going to be in therapy for a long time. So that's it's part of my life. But for somebody who just needs like to go in and have like one or two conversations, that could be all that they need, and then they're good.
Yeah, and I would say they, to me personally, everyone has had trauma at some point. They're not exempt from trauma. They're not. But you have to remember, a ton of people mask a lot of things. I did it for a number of years. I wore my mask and wore it well.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a lady last week. She said she told me she'd never experienced any trauma in her life, and I said, so you. And I told her, I said, well, how can that possibly be if we always have conversations about your worthiness? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, who told you were unworthy? And she's like, well, my parents, when they disciplined me, they used to tell me I was stupid and lazy. I'm like, and that's your trauma.
There you go.
And she's like, what? I'm like, yes. And a lot of people don't realize what we say to our kids in spanking is trauma.
Right.
And people are, it's not trauma. Yeah, I was spanked. I turned out great. I'm like, you're saying it's okay to hit 2-year-olds. Sir, there's something wrong there. You know what I mean? So I have yet to find anybody who hasn't had any trauma whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, that's just, we're human beings. It's life. Either you may have seen a car accident, you may have witnessed something on TV, you may have heard something. Something has happened to everybody. Now, that doesn't mean we're broken. It just means we're human.
Exactly. That's
Because
great.
a lot of people equal trauma to brokenness, and it's not.
Right.
That's a great.
It doesn't have to be to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of folks, I don't think, understand or probably really realize that those little things, traumas doesn't have to be some big explosion in your life.
Yeah.
And so that's probably, I think a lot of folks are deceived by that.
Yeah.
Point.
And and then they're like, well, I don't need to go to therapy. I'm not broken. I'm like, it's not about being broken. It's about just tweaking you so you can live your best life.
Exactly.
And just like you said, getting coping skills, like that is invaluable.
Like, how many people get road rage when they're driving? Like,
I'm looking at one right now.
So I don't get road rage because, to me, it's not that important, because in the end of the day, what's going to happen 10 minutes down the road, I'm going to completely not care about what happened driving to work. Not that I drive anymore, but you know.
Right. Let's get the Mark's comment and Martine's comment. We'll take a real quick break.
Mark said, "Do we truly allow people to grow, evolve, and be evergreen? Some folks are still attracted to folks past bad boy, mean girl persona because it reminds them of certain times and moments." Yes, it's the nostalgia of who that person was. The nostalgia of the timing, I guess, from when that person that you're not letting evolve or grow, that it brings back. So I get that. Martine says, I'm by myself a lot, so I'm in my head questioning myself, trying to make sure I'm not a difficult person, etc. I think we all do. I think we all do that. I think we all do. And I'll be honest, I've made it a practice to kind of at this point now to kind of self-evaluate each day. And where if I missed the mark somewhere, what I could have done better. And I mean, I have to be very intentional, and I'm intentional and conscious about doing it, especially for me with my girls.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure, I mean, I'm never going to make the right decision and say the right thing 100% of the time, but really just reflecting on, okay, did I do okay today? Giving myself a grade at the end of the day.
I ask my son.
You do what?
I ask my son. We have conversations. We have long at bedtime. We have long conversations. And the other night I said, if what could I do to be a better mommy?
Yeah, I like that.
And he thought about it, and for him it was buying him Blades. But you know what I mean? It's just.
I was going to ask, what did he tell you?
To buy him a Blade, because that is his love language.
Receiving gifts.
Yeah.
Yep. I have that one and quality time.
Yeah. So we have the quality time when we have our conversations at bedtime, and then but I tell parents, I was like, ask your kids, what can you do to make a better parent to them? And the kids are honest. They may be a little too honest sometimes, but they will tell you. And I think a lot of people don't realize is that we expect other people to act like we do. And I never put the expectations of yourself on other people, because you'll always be disappointed.
Absolutely. So Joker Dog said pride is expensive and it costs a lot. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It can cost you your peace of mind and your freedom, right? Yeah. And then Teen says she doesn't get road rage, but she talks crap while driving, seeing the stunts people pull on these streets. Yeah, I get that, especially here in Atlanta. And that she says she also writes her feelings and thoughts in her little notebook. So you keep a journal.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to. I don't know why I just can't stay consistent with doing that. I need to get better at doing that with journaling.
I don't journal.
You know, I mean, I kind of want to try it just because I hear a lot of people say that there's value in it for them.
It is.
I wanted to try it and just kind of see, but I've just not been consistent enough with it.
Yeah, there's different things work for different people. So journaling works for a lot of people. Zen coloring works for people, meditation works for people. It depends on what the coping skill works best for you.
Yeah.
I find that journaling was real good for me. Journaling
It resulted in 3 books.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a little more than 3, but who's counting?
3 books and a bunch of quotes. Oh yeah, it's more than 3 books actually, because you have your quotes. I forget about that.
Yeah. Good stuff. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. 7:33 is the time, so we'll take it real quick. And y'all good with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll be back, folks.
Thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Trent. We will be right back with more conversation after these commercial breaks.
Check out the creative work of the author Trent Williams of www.taylorkennedymedia.com. Chapter of the Delta gives us a peek at his life-changing events. And if that's not enough, Trent tells you more about his brothers and his life through memoirs in his book, The Four Horsemen. His blogs and daily stimulating quotes are published in his book, Life's Little Addiction. And when you have a need of some human coaching of life and relationships, take a look at Conversations with Trent, Volume 1 and 2, and Conversations with Trent, Limited Edition. You will find his works available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all online book retailers.
Welcome back to Conversations with Trent. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're online and want to be a part of tonight's topic, you can do that by dialing 347-324-5327. Press the number 1 to get into the queue so that your voice can be added to tonight's conversation. Now, let's get back to the show.
All right. Good stuff. First ad ran that was from Tabs Edible Creations at tabsediblecreations.com. So you can enjoy all those infused cakes and wonderful cookies. Good stuff. You need to start get back baking, young lady.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. All right, so let's get back to the comments here real quick. Are we there, Shannon?
Excuse me.
Is Shannon frozen?
She is.
I think she is. So Martine says, oh, 1 second. I can't see this. I can't see it.
Okay. It says it's just a notebook, not really a journal, and you don't
Yeah.
need to write it daily. Leave some blank pages in between to have room to add to the page. And I think we got Shannon back.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. Some wonky stuff going on out here.
Thank you, because I didn't want to read. Yeah.
She also said,
I will admit my weaknesses and reading comments. Yeah, that's not my journey. No, not my journey.
But your journey. No,
Well,
I get it. I get it. No worries. But I didn't think about that. So I could just do it sporadically, not have to do it every day. So maybe we'll see. Maybe it's been the last time I think I wrote in my journal was probably a year ago.
maybe
Wow.
you just need to find a different type of journal, or maybe a different packaging of the journal or something.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it works. It works for me, so it works. So you're familiar with journaling? That's what you're saying, right?
Huh?
You're very familiar with doing it.
I mean, I am. I've always, you know what? I think something's going on with my connection here. I'm gonna try logging in on my phone. It's just acting real crazy. Okay.
Gotcha.
I don't know what's going on here.
Good stuff. So let's talk about the pride thing that Joker Dog brought up. You know, pride is very, you pay a hefty price, a very hefty price. With the pride, very hefty price. I personally understand. I personally know that to be true. A very heavy price was paid. So you got to be careful about. You got to be careful about it. We'll constantly have to check. Oh, she's logging in something. 1 second.
Okay. I just moved over. I'm not sure what's going on with my connection. I'm on a different computer.
You know, we have to constantly double check ourselves and check ourselves twice, sometimes 3, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times until we get it right.
Yeah.
We have to be honest with ourselves when we're doing that checking.
Mm-hmm.
So, good stuff. D?
I agree. The thing with pride and ego is some of it can be trauma based as well. So, like I mentioned, I think in an earlier podcast, what's the word I'm thinking of? Hyper independence.
Mm.
So somebody's hyper independent is somebody who never had somebody they could depend on before. So their fallback is I can do it myself. Right? Like I am very much like that. I will ask you up to about a half a dozen times. After that, I'm like, you know what? The hell with you. I'm just going to do it myself. And
I get that.
I'm only patient to a point, and then it's like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. And so I know that is a toxic trait of mine. I'm well aware of it. I do try to be more patient, but and that goes back to childhood. I'm the eldest, so my mother always said I never have to worry about you because I knew you would always do the right thing. I'm like, you know what? I wish somebody would have worried about me at some point. Because that puts that hyper independence because you've always been the reliable one. So everybody always put everything on you too because you were reliable. So you become hyper independent later on in life.
Exactly. That's true.
Another one is you'll have people who will play the victim.
There we go.
The martyrs. So they will.
The martyrs.
Yeah, everybody's always out to get them. No matter what they do, it's never good enough.
Right.
And that's a mask. It's not about that at all. It's a trauma. Because
Right.
they don't want to be held responsible for things that they're doing.
So Mark threw a bomb into the conversation, Gumbo Pot.
Oh, he said, so with this topic and show, are we as a community going to let Mr. Epic grow? But I like Martine's comeback. She says, why not, Mark? Make space for Mr. Epic to grow forward. He said, who's in his way?
Yeah.
Boom.
Y'all a mess.
Nice, Martine. Nice.
Y'all give Mark a hard time.
Nobody is stopping him.
Y'all give Mark a hard time.
Nobody's giving Mark a hard time.
He brings it upon himself. So,
it's all good in the neighborhood.
It is. It definitely is. But man, hey, that's good. Man, that's good. I really enjoyed my birthday though, man, with my daughter. I really enjoyed that.
That's good.
Really enjoyed it. Very rewarding. Very rewarding.
Okay. Well, good. So you said you had seafood?
I didn't. I had the flounder. I had grilled flounder. She had, and the only reason I picked that restaurant because she loves seafood. She loves crabs, and she had lobster and snow crabs and blue crabs and all the fixed crawfish, all that good stuff. So she enjoyed it. So she dug in, and lobster was done the New Orleans way. So she really enjoyed it.
All right. Like how Martine put bullseye. Yes, you hit the bullseye on that one, Madame, on that last comment.
Mm-hmm.
That is funny. That's funny.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I am going to be turning into a pumpkin here. So it looks like you and Coach D, I will leave the rest of the show up to you guys to go ahead and finish discussing. I thought this was a great topic, and we got some great points across tonight. So, Coach D,
yes, ma'am.
Y'all hold it down.
I will miss you.
You miss me reading the comments.
I will miss you too. Okay. I love your energy, but yes, I'll miss you reading the comments. But I do love your energy.
I know how y'all be trying to use me to read these comments. That's okay. It's I do it. But I get to pick and choose which comments get read then too.
Exactly. We all have our ministry. You are really good.
Yeah, that slide. You heard what she said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get to pick which comments get read, but I'm equal opportunist, right? I pretty much read everybody's comments. I really do, even Mark's. I read all of his comments.
Good stuff.
Anyway, y'all have a great night. Stay safe and stay cool. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Bye.
Okay, D. Gotcha.
Okay,
Good stuff. So what's your thoughts on the whole giving a person space to grow?
Well, I believe in allowing people to grow on their own terms and not forcing them. So Sometimes that means I can be the pitcher while they're growing, and sometimes that means I can't.
Exactly.
So it depends on their journey, how their journey is going. Because if they're still being toxic while they're growing, then I don't have to put myself in a situation where I'm surrounded by toxic people.
Exactly.
Right? That's
I wrote a quote as I was preparing for the show. Actually, I wrote this quote. I haven't even published it yet. I wrote it today. I'll read it off and you give me your thoughts on it.
Okay.
You have to allow people the room to grow, even if they're outgrowing you.
Yep. That's true.
So I don't know why that just came to me, but I'll publish it probably this week, maybe tomorrow or something. But yeah, we have to allow people to grow, even if you're outgrowing me, I have to still give you the room to flourish.
Yeah,
I have to.
Well, that's the problem. Is not everybody can share the spotlight. So some people need to have other people's spotlights dimmed so they can be the center of attention. Exactly. So, and that's a whole narcissistic traits and everything. That's a whole other conversation. But when people are growing, a lot of people, they may be intimidated by the changes that they're seeing.
That's a great point.
So they may see somebody who's doing a lot of hard work, and they're scared to do that work.
That's a great point.
So when people are growing, they need to be the example of what growth looks like, so that other people can see it and go, they seem a lot happier and calmer. I want a little bit of that. Maybe I should see what they're doing to see if I can do something similar. And when we're on the journey, we have to give ourselves a lot of grace, and not become very, what's the word I'm thinking of? Holier than thou. Like,
Yeah.
I've grown, look how good I am. You're beneath me because you haven't done anything yet.
Exactly. But real growth, man, when you have real growth, you know, your ego is smothered.
Mhm.
When it's true growth, your ego is completely smothered.
Yeah.
You notice I said in the beginning, in the opening piece, when I started this journey, my journey was for personal healing on this journey, and
Right.
to bury Romello in the process.
Mhm.
I started this thing over 12 years ago, well over 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And that was my goal, to bury Romello in the process.
Yeah.
And I think I was very successful at doing that, at the same time inspiring thousands.
Yeah.
But, you know, no one wants to be reminded of the path. You can't forget, because the person actually, all the carnage I left behind, you shouldn't forget the stuff you did, because that's going to keep you humble.
Yeah.
If you've actually, if that makes sense to you.
It makes sense, unless they're watching you slip back into an old habit. Then they can bring it up and correct you.
Exactly.
What I was going to say is, the difference is you've done a lot of actual growth. So if you look on like social media and you'll see, like, I call them the new age spiritual folks, they're not doing a lot of growth. They're doing a lot of talking about growth, but they're not actually doing the work.
Exactly.
So if you see anybody who's like, if you see people who are gaslighting or being manipulative, like, if you see somebody who says you're stuck in your victim story, walk away from them, because they don't know what they're talking about.
That's deep.
Right?
Deep. That is deep. That is deep.
Unfortunately, the coaching industry right now is full of people who aren't doing their own journey.
The work. And the thing about it is, you have to do the personal work first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before you can move one person forward, you have to do it personally for yourself.
Yeah. That's like the article I sent you that Jeff Brown wrote. And he gets people upset all the time because he tells the truth. He's like, you're not enlightened. You haven't risen to a higher plane. You're human. There's no higher plane than what we're on right now. And
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And as you know, and a ton of people that have been following the conversation over the years, it's always been transparent, always been about personal growth. Always. Mm-hmm. I've always pointed the finger at myself first.
Right.
That, honestly, to be honest, that's how I became more popular, when I started pointing the finger at myself.
Yep.
When I was doing this, I wasn't that popular at all. But when I started doing this, Chicago started calling. Atlanta called a ton of times. Houston, the Bahamas, Jamaica, all over the place.
Yeah,
so I started doing this.
I did a presentation, and I brought out one of the stories of something toxic that I had done, and they're like, "Wait a second, you do that?" I'm like, "Please, I'm human. None of us are perfect." If somebody gets in front of you and tells you all this great stuff, and they never admit to any of the stuff that they've done, walk away from them, because you're not going to learn from them.
Exactly. And one of the reasons I said that this conversation happened when it was supposed to happen tonight, because my journey has completely came full circle on my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
So what was the result of the conversation?
The result of the conversation was actually, I'll share a little bit. I told you, but I'll tell the viewing audience as well. I made it to the restaurant first, and before they did. So she wanted to send a card for me. I was like, nah, I declined. I wanted to show her that, you know, with this new condition, I'm truly independent. So I don't need the card sent to me. None of that. So I got to the restaurant, and I was sitting there waiting. So I saw them, because I had window seat. They were walking along the restaurant. So when she walked in, she never removed her glasses. And my daughter said, immediately when my daughter saw me, she started crying. And Morgan never removed her glasses. So I was like, what's going on, bud? What's going on? And she just wouldn't, you know, she didn't say, everything's fine. So she started made a joke about, you know, the hostess saying, you know, she's looking for the old man and all this other stuff, whatever. So as she's sitting there eating, a tear drops. She had these huge glasses on. I said, what's wrong? She said, nothing. She said, I just see a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And that moved me. That really moved me because it took me to a place where, wow, she really see the work. She really see the work over the years that I've done. She really sees the work. Just that one compliment made my day. And then her bringing my daughter was the icing on the cake. Because normally, you know, we would have, in a normal situation, Kennedy will be with me 6 months. She'd be with her mother 6 months. But after all this tragic started happening, now 3 years ago with my brother, my mother passed, and then right after my mother, I became paralyzed and blind on my left side. So I physically touched my daughter for the first time in 3 years on my birthday.
Yeah.
No gift. This girl has given me platinum parties in other countries and everything for my birthday. And like I told her, I said, listen, this birthday supersedes anything you've ever done for me as far as a birthday go. Bringing that gift to me, bringing my daughter. Yeah. And I literally saw that journey come full circle at that restaurant. I did the work.
Yeah.
I was very proud of the platform I built over the years and the books I've written over the years, and it just brought me to a different place. Right. Good stuff. Your thoughts on it? What's your thoughts on it? Let me get off the soapbox.
Well, no, I think it's great. One of the things people will notice first is your energy. And people don't realize subconsciously we pick up the energy of other people. So if somebody's very toxic and you can feel it in your body, like everybody knows if they're around a certain person, their body starts to tense up. It's because subconsciously we feel the energy that they're giving off. So when people go through the journey and they're calmer, they feel that calming energy.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it was, D. That's exactly what it was.
So, and that conversation probably would not have worked 4 years ago.
Nah,
everything happens in its own time frame, and sometimes you just can't rush it.
Exactly.
So, like she said, that's good to hear, Trent.
Thank you, Martine. Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
It is. It is work. Healing yourself is work. I don't care what anybody says. If they say it's not work, then they're not doing the shadow work.
Exactly. And that's what made, like I said, that's what made the conversation so popular over the years. Like I was literally healing in front of these audiences across the country, abroad. I was literally speaking everything that I've gone through, writing about everything I've gone through.
Yeah.
Everything. And think about it, you have to give of yourself to help yourself, you have to help others.
Yeah. You do. And some of your best healing sometimes comes from the stories of others. Like I talk to people all the time, and sometimes I'll be talking to somebody and I'll get an aha moment, and I'm like, damn, I could have used that like 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Right? So life is interesting, and as human beings, we can do the best that we have with what we have. And sometimes we just need more tools to help us live a better life.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. Look, Mark, what was Mark saying here? One sec.
He says, others growing scared many to do the work, yet they only want to look down upon your past. How dare I judge who's done the work, self-work, and growth? The hate in the heart, hardness is their soulness. Yeah, you're right. You'll get a lot of people who will hate that you've done the work, that you've healed. Exactly. And they'll be like, oh, now you're too good for us. Or back home in Newfoundland, we have a saying, there's like, oh, you're so grand now. So it's basically the same thing. Yeah,
you did the work. That's what it's all about. It's about doing the work, personal growth. I'm always talking about the personal chisel. And I was talking to Michael one day, a couple of weeks ago. He said, "Where'd you get that chisel from?" It started off with my personal chisel.
Yeah.
I had to do the work. I had a lot of work to do, and I continuously do chisel, personal work. You have to. It's the only way you're gonna find growth within yourself. You keep chiseling away at it. Nobody's perfect. If they say they are, they're delusional. Trust me.
Yeah. I tell people is their first journey is to figure out who they really are. And people are like, well, what do you mean, D? I'm like, sometimes it could be the simplest things, like, what is really your favorite food? What is really your favorite color? Like, if you had to have one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Exactly.
Like, some people know right away. I don't know. I have no idea what I would choose. Because there's so many things to choose from.
She has a great one here. We're gonna close out in a second, but
not everyone should have to spill their guts, not with any old body. No, you should not spill your guts with just any old body. That's
why intuition kicks in. Yeah. That's why intuition kicks in.
Yeah. If you're gonna spill your guts, make sure you have a qualified, trained professional.
Exactly.
Either a therapist or a psychologist, counselor, somebody who's trained in that.
I like that, Slash. Life is a novel.
Not relegated to a few chapters.
Chapters. Exactly.
It is true. And life at 20 is very different than life at 30 or 40 or 50.
Absolutely. It's continual growth, man. If someone's actually reached the pinnacle of their life and they say at 50s, let's just say 52, 53, oh, I've made it. No, you haven't. You still got some growing to do.
Yeah.
If you're saying that, you're not there. You haven't met yourself on the next round.
Yeah, because growth is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
I tell people explore who they are.
Exactly.
Never. If you're using the word "just" to describe yourself, then you need to do more exploring.
Say that one more time. That was beautiful.
If you use the word "just" to explain yourself, you need to do more exploring.
Just is like saying "but."
Yeah, like I'm just a teacher. I'm just a housewife. No, you're way more than that.
Exactly.
So, I think the conversations to heal with others, like with a trained professional. I always recommend a trained professional. Is healing. It'll give you coping skills, and you know what? You come out better at the end. So mental health is very important, and when you have coping skills, you can use those coping skills to help others.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a great point. Give me an example, then we're gonna go out on that, and we'll come back Sunday and start on that. That's a great point.
Coping. So I'm in the military, so I have a lot of people who I've trained over the years, or I've trained with, and I'll get phone calls where people are on the edge, and they need to be talked down. And so basically, I'll use the coping skills that I have, and I'm a little different because I do have trauma courses, but basically to bring them back over to understand that this decision will be a permanent decision, and there's no going back. But we can work through what the problem is and help them to move beyond it to get to the other side.
You know what? I got a good idea. Can we do that on Sunday?
What's that?
What you just said.
Helping people move beyond, like for suicide prevention?
Yeah, and you drive the driver's seat. You're in the driver's seat on that one. That's pretty good.
I will have to check because I do have another event on Sunday.
Well, let me know. Just let me know.
Okay, yeah. Let me check. I will have to check my calendar because I can't remember what time it is. And I'm using my phone, so I can't pull it up. Otherwise, I'll lose this.
Got you.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it, definitely. But that's real. That's very important, man. When you using the coping skills, very important.
Yeah.
Very important. Extra important. We'll get through a couple of these comments and we'll get out of here.
Okay.
Slash says, the French doors to where the magic happens should only be by passcode. If the F up, because But I'm sorry, I can't see that. Can you help me with that?
If they F up, best believe it's changed for the better.
Yeah.
I'm not getting that. I need a translation, sir. The French doors to where the magic happens should only be by passcode.
Meaning he didn't like when he's talking about the French doors, he's talking about his life.
Okay.
And you have to have a passcode to get in. So he's not going to open up the French door to just anyone, pretty much.
Well, that. Listen, how many times did I say a trained professional? Trained professionals, people who do this for a living, not Joe down the street. I do remember healing that came at night twice. Magic City. Isn't Magic City a strip joint?
It is.
That's not healing.
Martine said, "Oh, she's answering Mark."
Yeah, we don't have to share with everyone we encounter. Correct. And
Exactly.
I actually recommend don't, because sometimes that can come off a little weird.
Yeah, and they'll run. They'll run if they're not ready for it. They'll definitely run. So
Yeah. So
especially when they're still dealing with certain things, they'll definitely run and shut down. So we gotta be careful with that. You gotta be careful with who he's sharing and who opened the French doors, as Slash would say. We gotta be careful with all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we're gonna call it a night. It's 4 after 8. Gotta get Kobe walked in. And it's good stuff, man. Real good stuff. We'll talk midweek. I actually let me know what your schedule. I give you a call, see what's up, and then
sounds good.
Part 2. So until next week, guys. Well, not till next week, till Sunday rather. We'll see you guys back here again, same time, same station.
All right. Good night.
Tell the folks what to get you, D.
Oh, you can just hit me up on Facebook, dbryan/-Layler, or you can email me d.bryan@gmail.com.
Have you started your TikTok again? Oh no.
No, I've been so crazy with Xavier and doing other stuff that I haven't put anything TikTok out. I will post in the group as soon as I do, though.
And that's dlayler.com.
Yes, is my website.
.com. So good stuff. Until this Sunday, we'll be back, folks. Same time, same station.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Conversations with Trent in conjunction with Taylor Kennedy Media and your radio network would like to thank you for calling in and listening to tonight's episode. We hope that tonight's conversation offended you just enough to turn your mirror inward to come back for more. So until next week's conversation, be epic.